Greetings. It is Monday, November the 25th, in the infamous year of 2024. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is the Monday Morning Report. First off, a little bit of housekeeping. I want to thank everyone who got back to me on my coverage last week of the conflict involving the United States, Russia, Ukraine, and NATO. The report, The Russians Are Coming, if you haven't heard it yet, I suggest you give it a good listen. The other thank you is for the people that enjoyed meditations over the weekend. Again, that's a service, that's a recording for members only. It was meant to be timely. Now, what is going on? Well, quite a bit, more than usual. Like it or not, folks, Russia is effectively at war with NATO. Want to clarify something, though. There are a lot of reports of North Korean soldiers that are in Ukraine. Apparently, from good, reliable sources, that's not true. They've never come anywhere close to Ukraine. That's coming from a few places. Apparently, the reports are a result of misinformation, ways to garner sympathy in the American public. There is no evidence that North Korean soldiers have gotten into the fight, nor does it seem likely they will. Russia has more than enough in ways of an army to deal with what it's dealing with. Again, there's an awful lot of misinformation flying around, which in and of itself is a weapon. So be very careful with the sources on that. One thing I was shocked to find out from a colleague in Europe was that RT.com, Russia Today, which is an English language news service that is, of course, controlled by the Russian government. That has to be taken into account, but at least you get to see what the Russian government is thinking and saying. But apparently that's cut off in Europe. I didn't know that. That is pretty stupid. There are ways around that, and the fact that governments think that you can control information anymore just shows how out of touch they are with reality. Now, there's going to be an awful lot that will continue to be covered by myself about the potential for nuclear war. A real nice way to start your week, huh? And I'll do my best to deal with that. Again, there are plans for an anti-nuclear war rally in Washington, D.C. on December 7th. I keep hearing that. I haven't seen an official website of it. If and when that does occur, I will put the link up on my Substack channel and at various other social media outlets you can follow my work at. Now, Mr. Netanyahu of Israel. The arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court, the ICC. Okay, that's interesting. But I want to point something out to people that are being selective in certain things. Whatever Mr. Netanyahu is accused of or has done, and I'm not one of his biggest fans, shall we say, it's an organization that is not to the best interest of the United States, that's for sure. And it can be argued it's not in the best interest of the rest of the world. But you got to take one side or another. You can't just choose. So some people think, the ICC, they're going to issue arrest warrants. I guarantee you they're not going to be executed. At the same time, to be fair, the ICC is extremely political. Now, what this has accomplished is it's given the ultra-conservative, the neocons, ammunition to do what they do best, which is to make life miserable for the rest of the world. One of the worst of these people is Senator Lindsey Graham. He's being billed as a Trump ally in the foreign media. Lindsey Graham has been screaming about having a war with Iran and all sorts of things for years. But he was interviewed on Fox TV, and I got to see a clip from that when he started saying, if anyone executes the ICC warrant against Mr. Netanyahu, we will, quote unquote, going to crash your economy. Mr. Graham, Senator, this is why the United States is so hated in so much of the world, using the U.S. dollar as a weapon. That's coming back to haunt us in a way that most Americans can't even comprehend. But you see, this is the problem. When I saw that, I said, that just says it. You either do what the United States says or we're going to destroy your economy. No country should have that power, even us. The United States should not have that power. No country should. So he just basically communicated to the rest of the world, and that clip did show up all over the place. Over Israel, the U.S. is going to destroy itself. Let that sink in for a little bit. It is a big gesture. The ICC it's not going to get anywhere. You are not going to see Mr. Netanyahu or his former Minister of Defense, that was also included in that warrant, taken away in handcuffs. So stop gloating about this, those of you who hate Mr. Netanyahu. It's not going to matter to anything. It's silly. Now, speaking of military stuff, one story that's popped out this morning is that President-elect Trump plans on getting rid of transgender people in the military as soon as he takes office. He's supposed to be signing an executive order, discharging all of them for medical reasons because of gender disorder. The number that's being bandied about is about 15,000. Now, of course, all the transgender members of the military are coming out screaming. There was one report that said, "Whoa, it'll take 20 years to build up the command structure," or something to that effect. And the U.S. military is having a very hard time recruiting people. I mean, who'd want to go in? You might end up involved in Ukraine. You might end up being involved in fighting in Israel or something. I mean, really. But if anyone has taken the time to talk to people who've recently left the U.S. military, and I have, one of the things they hated was this policy. They said it was insane. They just couldn't keep their face straight in some places. So they just left, and more important, they convinced everyone else to leave that they could, and to convince people thinking of going in not to go in. Either way, the U.S. military has taken a horrible hit over this policy of allowing men to dress as women and act like women, and allowing women to act like men and dress like men. That's what you're dealing with, folks. I don't buy the Kool-Aid that they've been pouring for a while. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. I do not think that when they do get rid of these members of the military, when Trump gets rid of them, that you're going to see a flood of people going back and trying to be recruited. The damage is very much done. It took years to rebuild the U.S. military after the Vietnam War. I was there. I was a young man, and a lot of people thought I should have gone in. But after the Vietnam War, after the nightly reports of all the Americans being killed and being maimed, and knowing people who lost family members, who were drafted, almost nobody wanted to go in. It was a mess in the 1970s. That's one of the reasons why Jimmy Carter wasn't really able to do anything with the Iran hostage crisis. There were just no good people. We're in that sort of situation now. So the U.S., and so all this talk about going to war, we don't have a lot to go to war with. And we're going up against the Russians, who are battle-hardened, and they have no problems knowing what restroom to use, nor do the Chinese, or the Indians, for that matter. I mean, really. So then you have the senator, Mr. Graham, out there screaming, "We're going to crash your economy if you lay a finger on Mr. Netanyahu." What sort of signal does that send to the rest of the world, huh? Okay, closer to home, the cabinet picks of the president-elect are, in this reporter's opinion, less than stellar. There's a little bit of the smell of deep state here and there. At the end of the day, members of the cabinet serve at the president's whim, but it appears more and more that President-elect Trump has cut a deal with the powers that be. It's beginning to look that way. No inside information, no things I've heard from any source, but it looks like he may have cut a deal to avoid problems, to avoid conflict. Oh, well, some good news here. MSNBC is looking like it's going to vanish. It couldn't happen to a nicer news organization, of course, news being a bit of an opinion there. A lot of people are calling this the Trump curse. If you cross Mr. Trump at some point, you're going to pay for it. It's like a magical, mystical spell over the man. I don't think it's so much the Trump curse. I think it's the American people curse. It's something I've pointed out continuously. This is not about Trump. This is about the movement behind him that's pushing him along. MSNBC is in trouble. CNN is in real trouble as well. Elon Musk possibly buying MSNBC? Why? You have better uses for your money, Mr. Musk, and your time. Let it die. One more thing to cover this morning. This is something that just came out, and I was reading it before preparing this morning's report, and it's the Biden report, the report on the laptop. And this crossed my desk almost randomly, and if you can see this fascinating document, which is almost 650 pages long, at Biden Report, one word, bidenreport.com. You can read it online. You can download a hard copy for $63 that includes shipping within the United States. And I was shocked at how utterly detailed this thing is. I did a review on the book about the Bidens. If you go back and listen to the book report on The Big Guy, you'll hear some of it. But this is far more detailed. I mean, you hand this to any prosecutor and their career is made. It details in quite significant detail, and I've not read the whole thing yet. I've gone through certain sections of it, and I was quite impressed. 459 violations of state and federal law, very thoroughly documented. Wow. You can't read this, at least the sections I read, and think that there was anything ever good about that family or the fact that the guy made it into office the way he did. Again, Biden Report, BIDEN Report, REPORT.com, if you have trouble spelling those two words. Check it out. Don't take my word for it. Again, do real research, and you'll be much happier with the way the world, well, not the way the world works, but in your understanding of it. There will be additional reports coming over the next few days. I do urge people to follow foreign news sources, especially Russian and Ukrainian ones. You want to see what the governments are saying, because that's what matters, not how someone's interpreting things or predicting the future. If you go to my Substack channel, in the notes section, I will be posting links up there. Also on some social media sites, but I would urge people to follow this stuff closely. We are very close. Very, very close. The potential for nuclear war. I can't emphasize that enough. That's the big story. Again, don't pray for peace. Pray for sanity, because then peace will always follow. That's it for today. If you appreciate these podcasts, please like, subscribe, and share. And please, please, please consider a paid subscription. There's more material coming out that will only be there for paid members. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm up on X. My handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. I'm up on other social media sites, including Telegram. I'm not on Facebook. This podcast originates at Substack. The address there is aureliancolumn.substack.com, and you can find these podcasts now on YouTube. Until we meet again, be good, be safe, be vigilant, And remember, Clown World and the Deep State must be destroyed. Good day.